Kingman Minerals is working on a very interesting gold project in Arizona where the property encompasses a historic mine. We are talking to Dr. Peter Bourne, CEO of the company today, to hear more about this project and the company's achievements and plans. Welcome, Peter.
Thanks for the welcome. I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Canada here, which is having a snowy winter day, minus 20. Anyhow, I guess my story began here in Ottawa back in the 70s when I was a university student. And I did a Bachelor of Science in Geology here, then went on to do a master's right after that in Sudbury, which is Canada's mining capital. But I ended up working in uranium exploration in Western Canada and up in the Northwest Territories for a German company, believe it or not, Rosebud Shaft, a couple of years there. So that was my first kind of semi-permanent contract type work. And then after I finished that off, I went to work in Northern Ontario and Quebec and as a geologist, project geologist, working on gold projects, zinc projects. And the funny thing I guess I could relate is the first day I kind of got my permanent job, we were in Toronto office and we're about 12 floors on King Street, and right across the street was a bullion dealer called Deke Pereira. And if anyone remembers the craziness of January 1980, there were people lined up around the block and then some trying to get into this bullion dealer, and they had security guards letting people in two at a time. This was the start of our first gold boom, gold cycle. And it looks like we're back into the same kind of thing that we had 40 years ago, which, of course, from a geology and a gold point of view is fantastic. We had some pretty lean years back in the 2000s when gold was down around $250, and it didn't matter what kind of project you had. It was almost impossible to make any money. Even operating mines were just scraping by, trying to stay open. So I'm hopeful that we're in a better space now with gold exploration. In particular, that's what makes a project like our Rosebud, which is a very inexpensive 5 cents a share type deal, where you can get in on the ground floor of a big project.
Let's talk about the Kingman project then in a bit more detail. As you said, well, as I said in my introduction, it contains or encompasses a historic mine. Obviously, there must be some other features that brought this property to your attention and made you go and decide to start explore there. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, first of all, the location is in northwest Arizona. So there's for our German viewers, the Arizona and Kingman. And in fact, we're up in the northwest corner. We're only a couple of hours basically from Las Vegas, which is just on the other side of the border to the northwest. So what was so attractive about this area, of course, Nevada is kind of the gold capital. But as there's a bunch of historical data from Arizona relating to gold mining from the early or the late 1800s to the 20s and 30s. So basically, you can see here on this slide, gold was discovered very late in the last century or 1800s. A lot of mines around there, very small operations, mind you. They were like pick and shovel type things. Some of them, like Rosebud, which is the one we have in particular, got rather well developed in the 30s, but it had a 400-foot shaft and 2,500 feet of workings. And then there are several other mines in the area. There's, so there's a proliferation of, this is basically our surface exposure, and you can see I have a bunch of veins. And another reason we like this area, Arizona, for if you don't know, is probably the second friendliest mining jurisdiction in America. Nevada is probably first, so that was very attractive. And and you can go to anywhere that's underexplored. That is a key component. And a lot of this work basically is 100 years old. Very little has been done since then, except a little bit in the 80s. As you can see, we were going by previous work, and there were some efforts in the 80s by Bayrock and doing some preliminary work. At the time, they did what was considered best practices, but it's changed. So basically, we ended up looking at a property that might have 666,000 ounces of gold and then 2.5 million ounces of silver. So this, really no modern exploration had been done on this property. And the way things worked in 2019, we acquired the property and basically proceeded from there. And the gold cycle has kind of turned up, and we're hoping it will continue to turn up.
Yeah, that would be certainly helpful if the gold price could go back towards 1900s or $2,000 per ounce even, for any producer and explorer and developer, of course. So you said that there had been done very little for a long time at the project before you acquired it. Can you tell us what you have been able to do, what you achieved there so far? I guess the latest data you gathered came from a drill program that was conducted last year, right?
Yeah, that's true. We had a 2021 drill program, and well, we had two parts. One was in kind of March, and then we had one in basically November. So the first one we have, basically I could perhaps go. Can I go back to my sharing there? I can show basically some of this is our main vein system here that we are operating on here. Mm-hmm. This is the Rosebud Shaft is there in orange. You can see it, and here's kind of a cross section. And a lot of this area here we have not touched yet, but a lot of the 600,000 ounces are based on work that was done here, but very little drilling. So we've concentrated on this main structure, and we've had the first phase of 5 holes down here. Looked pretty good. We basically confirmed the continuity of the underground workings below the underground workings. And then we've since then gone further up the hole here in the second phase, up the line to the northwest, try to extend that whole sequence. So as a result, we've basically, there again, it's our 664,000 ounces. And that's a fantastic target. And that's kind of our whole operation is based on working at ways to confirm these ounces in the ground and using, 21st century best practices, accepted, basically 43-101 compliant stuff that we did. So what we can say, our drilling has not disappointed us in a lot of ways, because we basically have the continuity of drilling in places there were no underground workings. And we have the underground workings, we know the data from there. And a lot of this stuff was half-ounce gold and several ounces of silver. So, you're looking at over $1,000 per ton type material, which is very, encouraging. And we have, as far as we've gone, we've been able to trace it to the northwest. Now, the plan with our permitting that's going forward, we have 24 holes. So that's what we're permitted for. So that will give us another 2-year window to complete that if we do complete it. So, of course, all this is contingent on financing. That's one of the.
Well, that's always the case with the exploration.
So I should say one thing. We did a preliminary phase, other than drilling, of underground investigations where we did some LiDAR surveys, sampling, and all that, and we came up with some kind of spectacular results as well. We had some first level 260. Level 2, we had 270 grams per ton gold samples. On level 1, we had some 250 grams. So we have some bonanza type mineralization there. This is not just 1-2 gram material. We have some real high grade in places. Now, the continuity of that is what's always in question. And you need a lot more data than we have now to talk about that. But the possibilities are certainly there.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you had the drill programs in last year. I think you had to stop the one towards the end of the year for, among other things, COVID-related reasons and rising costs and technical issues. But you're licensed for 22 more holes, for 24 holes overall. So that's, as you said, that's contingent about on financing, of course, as it always is. So what kind of news flow can we expect, or are you hoping to have this year? What kind of work do you hope to get done on the project this year?
Well, I guess all our statements really are contingent on our financing being successful. And we had stated in our earlier news releases, we were looking to raise roughly 2.1 million thereabouts. We have some that we raised in December, but we would like to, complete that goal, 2.1. That would give us, enough money to do a reasonable drill campaign. Because our kind of moving forward, we want to convert our historic resource to a 43-101 compliant resource, which requires a lot of drilling. Now, not all of that needs to be drill core, like core drilling. We can do some RC drilling, and we will probably do some in the future. So that's kind of where we are. Now, there are other things we could do. We haven't necessarily announced any of this or planned it without any money right now. We still have to do a structural analysis, which we have a very fine photo mosaic so far from our propeller.com. They did all the work, our underground laser work and on surface. So we can use that, or we might fly a drone mag survey and then use those results for helping our geology and targeting new targets for our vein intercepts, and maybe try to cut down on the amount of systematic drilling up the hole, which eats up a lot of meters that way. We have to try to maybe refine our targets better than we have up till now. So those are things that we could be doing, but we'd rather have the financing in place and do the drilling, because we have that kind of two-year window now where it's approved. We're not going to lose that approval. We have that. It's not in question. We just got to go ahead, finance it, and drill it. So, and that's definitely going to be required for 43-101.
Yeah, and of course, better gold field, gold price environment would also help with that in all probability. Okay, so that's the details. That's what you would like to do this year and want to do with the property. But give us an idea of the big picture. What is the ultimate goal for Kingman Minerals and the project? Do you want to go and mine there? Do you want to partner it out? Do you want to sell it? What's the idea?
Well, the idea is to, I maybe could have expanded on this in the first question. This is a very good part of Arizona, and there's a lot of activity going on now. There have we're right beside the Music Mountain mine. There's several, probably I would say, I haven't really studied it that much, but there could well be a similar deposit right next door to us, adjacent, with same kind of ounces. And then we have Mineral Park about 20 miles away. And the Moss mine is about 60. So there's a bunch of these porphyry copper type induced mining situations where you have a caprice type of situation with the veins coming up like this. These are what the 5-6 veins look like. You've got a host down below where they're probably all coming together, a porphyry intrusion. Anyway, we have this good alteration to deal with, and iron oxide material. And the other thing that we should say, that back 100 years ago, they only went so deep on the gold veins. So as soon as they ran into sulfides, they stopped. So we have these sulfides at depth and iron alteration and things like that. They didn't want to mine stuff that had different composition, because they were doing amalgamation of gold with mercury and all these very simple techniques. So if we get into sulfides, we know sulfides and gold are probably a very good association and influenced by the porphyry copper intrusives, the tertiary age, that are kind of cooking up the whole system and making the hydrothermal fluids rise up through the vein system. So we have this history in the area. So, and lately in the last 3 years, there's been a lot of exploration nearby in the area. So I'm very encouraged. Much better for a junior company to get in there and make something of it than, say, going to Nevada, where you have to compete with all the big companies and their technical teams and financing that they have available. So I think it's an ideal scenario for junior companies to make a good start with a very good target and a strategy plan to advance it. Now, whether we want to upgrade it, obviously, bring it to 43-101, because that's when it's most sellable. You can do a financing then, or you can sell it joint venture to a major. There are a lot of options at that point. But we have to advance the project, I'd say, for another 2 years anyway, and try to complete our 24 holes and then do some structural work and just make it more appealing and basically solve the problem. That's what I see.
Okay. So let's summarize. What we have here is a great location, right? Very close to existing deposits, very close by, mines close by. You're close to Nevada, where there's a lot of activity going on too. And the first of all, what your first stage of work is proving up the historical estimates, so to speak, and bring them to compliance, and then see if you partner the project or sell it or do a financing to further work, because there's additional potential to find more mineralization.
Well, theoretically, we would like to find all 666,000 ounces, but that would take a little bit of investment and time and drilling and all that. But that's the goal. We have a really nice goal ahead, and we have neighbors around that are becoming successful in their exploration efforts in the same geological environment. So I don't see any real negatives. Basically, it's a win-win situation. And if you say, we can achieve that, you're looking at, potentially something that may have a value of close to $1 billion. And how many times can you go after a property with that upside potential? It's very rare. Usually when you start exploration, you have no idea what your upper limit's going to be. It could be nothing, or it could be very good. We have something to shoot for here. And that makes it a bit simpler in a way too.
What you're aiming for, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the investors can see that we're shooting kind of high. We're trying to aim high on this project.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. We'll, of course, see that we follow up on how it all goes with the financing, with the drilling, with all the activities, and talk maybe at a later time. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bjorn.